So what are chromoly axle shafts? What's involved in getting them installed? And is this something that you need in your Jeep or off-road rig? Today in the Larson Garage we're going to be going through installing a set of chromoly axle shafts on the back end of my Jeep CJ7. So as we start to dig into this axle, let's talk a little bit about how the new chromoly axle shafts differ from these old axle shafts that we're pulling out. So most factory axle shafts are made out of 1039 or 1040 mild carbon steel. So now there's quite a few different types of materials that axle shafts are made out of. So we'll just write it up here on our electronic whiteboard that I don't have, but that you'll see to keep track of all those different types of materials. So 1039 and 1040 axle shafts are plenty strong enough for factory applications. But when you start to do some extracurricular activities, add bigger tires, a locker, more weight, or even a bigger engine, you can start to run into issues with the axle shaft like we have on the CJ. Alright, time to do some multitasking. I'm going to go through and pull these axle shafts out while VoiceOver Me continues to add to our list here different types of axle shaft materials and some of the differences. The first upgrade over factory would be 1541 or 1541H. These are still in the carbon steel category but have manganese and boron added to improve the surface heat treat and strength. From there we get into the chromoly group of 4140 or 4340. Now chromoly is short for nickel chromium molybdenum. This composition increases the hardenability and elasticity of the shafts and is a big increase over the strength of the factory shafts. At the top of the list is 300M or 4340M, which adds vanadium, silicone, carbon, manganese to the base chromoly composition. And in researching this, seems mostly used in race applications. Alright, so now that we've talked about all the different types of axle shaft materials, it's time to get these chromoly shafts installed in the Jeep. Now these are from the company Alloy Axles, and so how they come and what they come with, you have the actual axle shaft itself, all of the wheel studs, seal, bearing, and then bearing retainer. So the only thing that I needed to reuse from an old set was the backing plate or retaining plate. So the first thing we'll do is go ahead and install the wheel studs. In going through and installing the studs, we realized that the stud holes were slightly undersized. We weren't able to get the studs fully seated. So we went in, opened the holes up just a bit, and that gave us just enough room to fully seat these studs. Wheel studs are in, then we'll go in, put the backing plate on, put the seal in, press the bearing on, press the bearing retainer on, and then they're finally ready to install in the Jeep. So as we go through and install these axle shafts, let's talk about is chromoly something that you need in your Jeep or off-road vehicle. So it ultimately comes down to what is your plan for the vehicle. What tire size do you plan on running? Are you running the factory size, a 33, a 35, or maybe something larger, much larger? So then based upon your plan you need to see, will chromoly axle shafts get you the strength you need for that plan, or do you need to go to a bigger axle altogether to get you there? If you plan on running 40s in a TJ or a YJ, maybe don't put chromolys in the factory axles, maybe jump up to some bigger axles to start with. Alright, so the axle shafts are fully installed, we got the tires back on. The only thing left to do now is to put them to the test, and that's what we're going to do next time on the Larson Garage. I'll link in the description below the video on how I realized I needed chromoly axle shafts, or when I realized that I had a bent axle and then I needed to replace it. So in the meantime, I'm going to get the Jeep off the lift. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.